Matthias, we are extremely grateful for the thanks you're giving. The only thing we like more than applause is getting out in time to enjoy a beer with you or something of that sort. So we'll assume that we can just immediately start on that, but thank you.
Okay, so you can prepare ahead of time. Thank you.
Do you have some? Yeah. Okay, so make sure that it's on.
Hello, my name is Ned Resnikoff. My project is Vizzy. That's the name really of the project more than the hack, but there's a hack associated. I'm a software developer, and this is just a project that I've been working on for a long time. Vizzy is intended to convey data visualization, and it's kind of turned basically into an elaborate spectrogram viewer. So I'm going to give you a quick tour just to give you an idea of what it can do, and then I'll kind of get to the hack that I did for this weekend. So I don't know the extent to which people are familiar with spectrograms, but I kind of came to them from a musician's point of view, and I wanted to lay them out in a way that would make sense to me, hence the staff is there, the clefs are there. I think I can play this. So mostly probably you all know that piece. Good one to get started on. The layout of the interface is basically kind of scripting style. Each of these components is sort of an instruction. They come off the menus here. So you can kind of build up a short script. So for example, here's the color, and you can set the color. This is one that's much my favorite, where the color wheel has been mapped to the octave. So if you see, for example, the yellow here is a D. So this yellow is also a D. Looks pretty, and it's also kind of helpful for keeping track of it. When I import a project into this, I generate a spectrogram, and I save it as a ping file, which looks like, sorry, hang on. There it is. It looks like this. What I'm doing is basically giving 60 pixels per second, 5 pixels per half step, and I'm using the RGB values to encode the magnitude. So that's 24 bits. The log 10 of 24 is 7.2, so that gives you 72 decibels. That's the resolution. Since they're saved as pings, it's a form of data that is meant to be amenable to importing to other projects. So that's something that maybe would be interesting to add to other data sets as kind of a form of metadata. The program includes a lot of sort of annotation mechanisms. So for example, you can put on sort of like a set of calipers and try and measure rhythmic things. It sort of tells you over here what the beats per second is that you've measured out. That's sometimes useful. You can get your frequencies there, and there's some other sort of fun sort of tools like that are built into it. You can look at it in 3D. I heard somewhere that that's really good for getting grants. One can only hope. This is sort of a non-linear version of it. Oh, sorry. This can be a little bit useful for actually like learning a piece, kind of like a little cue sheet. You can do that in 3 dimensions too. That's just kind of fun. So the pings give you the spectrogram to a certain level, but it's actually possible to get a higher resolution. What I'm using is, it's not an FFT, of course all frequency transforms are closely related. It's kind of a custom wavelet transform, and it's possible to get a fair amount of data. So you can kind of keep basically upping the level of detail to a pretty high degree, which ultimately gives you sort of the idea that you might be able to pick out some of the details. This is a piano piece. You're not really going to see a lot of different timbral differences up in the upper register. But just having looked at other stuff, there are some of these kind of fine details that just from talking to people this weekend, I've been hearing a lot about sort of machine learning techniques, which are basically quite new to me, that get me thinking that there may be some scope there for doing sort of timbral separation based on these really fine details when you're zoomed in. So there's one other thing I want to show you before I get to this weekend's hack. There's kind of a companion program here that I use for the annotation. Well, it's not really resizing very happily. Maybe we'll have to give up on that. Okay, so yeah, well, we won't worry about that then. So the hack that I was doing this weekend, I got interested in, if you think of the ping as a matrix of values, and if you think of a single column, it corresponds to the notes that are present at a single sort of moment in time. And if you were to think of that as a vector and take the dot product of that vector with the one next to it, you would get a measurement of how similar they were. And if you play that out, you'll get oh, forgot to show you this. So this is polar coordinates, also very amusing. So that's fun stuff. So onto the autocorrelation matrix. This is what I've been working on this week, and we'll see if it plays for me. So this is the new code. Come on, come on. Yeah, you know, I know what it was too. I had the wrong button pushed through, it was showing me the wrong thing, not the thing that I wanted to show you. I'm not even worried. Sometimes you just have to quit and restart and try again. I'm gonna give it one more try. No, okay, well, all is not lost. I have some saved, just in case something like that happened. There we go. So what you get is something that looks kind of like this. You expect to see the diagonal line, but that's just basically telling you that at any given point, all of the notes there correspond to themselves. But what gets cool is when you see something like this, where you get a diagonal line here, what that's telling you is that whatever sequence of notes was played here got repeated here. So this is presumably the recapitulation. This piece here is, it's from, I went looking through my iTunes library for any Van Karajan's that I happened to have. So this is a Schumann piano concerto of his, off his collection. This is a Beethoven triple concerto movement. So you can see here, it's kind of interesting, there's like a weak repetition here. Again, probably recapitulation. Looks like there's some new material here at the end. This one is not a Van Karajan, but it is a piece that got mentioned this weekend. It's the second movement of Beethoven's Seventh. It was mentioned on Friday in one of the presentations, so I just thought I'd bring that. It has a really pretty strong sense of repetition. There's a theme that kind of comes back over and over. And just for something completely different, this is the Beatles' Here Comes the Sun, which also got mentioned this weekend. And this one's pretty cool. It has an intro here. You can see my mouse, right? Yeah. An intro here, a verse here. That verse is repeated here. This is the break, which is a single measure or two that are repeated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then here's the final verse, which matches up to the first verse. And then sort of the themes are present here, and then the outro. So this is another form of metadata that, again, might be kind of interesting to add to larger metadata sets. It's, again, something that can be delivered as a ping or some other similar form. So in any case, this is just a project that I've been interested in for a long time. And I have to say, the crowd that I've encountered this weekend, just for my taste, is interested in really, really interesting, terrific stuff. So if this is the kind of thing that interests you, please feel free to get in touch with me. I have a super elaborate contact information. You know how it is. There's only so many hours in a day, so I tend to put them into the coding. But please feel free to get a hold of me if you'd like to see more, hear more. The software is at a point where it's probably appropriate for people to try and get it from me. You can't download it because it's not posted yet. But we did spend some time this weekend. I got it to work on somebody else's computer if you have a Mac. So it should be usable. And let me know if you're interested. Thank you.